Hello, everyone. Today, I'm here to talk to you about the connection of obesity and our gut. Gut, मतलब हमारी आंतड़ियाँ और intestines, right? Obesity, motapa, this is one of the biggest problems that our country has today. And we are actually really growing fast in terms of not just sizes of people's body, but obviously we are also the most populous country in the world. So that is actually a very big problem. And very few people know that India is the global capital for type 2 diabetes. And there is also a very strong connection between obesity and diabetes also. So why are we talking about obesity and the gut? Because people think that obesity technically is a problem of eating and how much one person eats, and that is the reason why he or she will put on weight and become obese or morbidly obese, which means that he or she is far heavier than what they should be according to their height. So the current standard of defining a person's obesity is with respect to their body mass index, which is your weight in kilogram divided by your height in meter squared. And anybody in our population, that is the Indian population, which is a subset of the Asian population, above a BMI of 30 kilogram per meter square is supposed to be obese. Anybody who is above a body mass index of 27 is supposed to be overweight. So we're talking about this population. Today, if you stand on the scale and check your weight, probably 6 or 7 people out of 10 would be easily more than a BMI of 27 in a random population. A lot of this is definitely got to do with the kind of food that we eat and the lifestyle that we live. But here comes the funny part that you have two people in the same house and are eating practically the same food. One is thin and lean, and the other is obese. And now you'll wonder, how does that happen? Because if we're eating the same kind of food from morning to evening, we're practically almost, you know, identical in terms of genetic structure because we belong to the same family. But still, one person is obese and one is not. So, how does that happen? Here's where the gut connection comes. All right. When I talk about the gut, it is about the intestines. And we all know that we have small intestine, large intestine. That is where the food digests. That is where we get the nutrition from, and it is sent to the whole body. But not all of us know that this gut also is home to a few billion or trillion microorganisms, which are bacteria, fungi. So, all these are also part of our homeostasis or our ecosystem. So, within us are a lot of living beings which are living actually, and not many people are really aware of it. But that is the ecosystem that I'm talking about today. It is these bacteria, fungi, and viruses which are housed inside, predominantly the bacteria, which are the good bacteria which we want to be living harmoniously with us, which will determine your obesity or whether you're going to be obese or not going to be obese. And now that is why we say that the gut is actually our brain. This is also a very interesting concept. Up until now, we used to think that everything starts here, but that's not the case. The brain does control the whole body, but the intestines are or our gut are also a separate entity in itself. That is also a brain in itself, and that's why we call it the gut brain axis. And the proliferation of certain bacteria can maintain good weight for a person, and a proliferation of certain other bacteria can bring about obesity in a person. That is how a person differs from another person in the same house. Another new concept in obesity, which has recently been published in medical literature, is that the amount of exercise that a person does. It's Earlier we used to think that the more you exercise, the less obese you will be, or the more fitter you will be. That concept has been debunked completely. Like an Asian person or an Indian person who goes to the fields, does some farming, comes back home, has a meal, sleeps for 2 hours, then goes back to the farm, comes back, is lean and doesn't put on weight ever, but hardly consumes too many calories, even though they are carb rich and very low in proteins. But similarly, a person having the same diet, going to office in a 9 to 5 job, keeps putting on weight. All right. So there's a big difference in their basal metabolic rate that is also influenced by these bacteria inside your intestines. So if I have certain billion bacteria which are not promoting inflammatory mediators, which are promoting formation of short chain fatty acids, then I am not going to be obese. But if I have bacteria which are doing exactly the opposite, because of the type of food that I have been consuming for, say, the last 6, 8 months, then I'm going to have many inflammatory mediators. I'm going to have bacteria which are not helping produce short chain fatty acids but producing long chain fatty acids, which means that I am not going to be able to burn down the calories that I'm consuming. And hence, it's going to be reserved and stored as fat. So I'm going to become obese. That is how this whole mechanism is working. That is what is the connection of obesity and your gut. So, if you Google or if you go on Instagram or Facebook and try to look at what is the right diet, you listen to so many influencers talking about nutrition, so many dietitians or nutritionists, or even people who are hitting the gym, who are physical trainers, fitness trainers, they tell you how to eat and what to eat. There are many, many things going on all around you, and that at the end of the day confuses the common man, and he starts wondering whether this is a good thing to eat or not, whether I should pick up this thing from the shelf of a supermarket or not. You must have heard of a lot of things called probiotics, prebiotics, high fiber diet, whey protein. These are all, being promoted today because people who are living in the 21st century, although we already had this culturally in our own diet, we stopped taking those because we aped the Western culture. We started eating like the Europeans and the Americans, and we lost out on all these natural foods that were already present in our Indian cuisine all across from north to south, east to west. And now we go to a supermarket and look for a probiotic when we already were eating a diet which is full of curds, buttermilk, lassi, which is going to produce lactobacillus, which is the good bacteria which you want in your intestines. All right. And instead of that, you're ordering pro and prebiotics on Amazon and Zepto. That's what is happening today. So, what we are trying to say here is that always remember that if you want to be fit, you need to change first and foremost your lifestyle, and most importantly your diet. You have to go back to the diet which you have been brought up on culturally from your parents, from your grandparents. That is what was producing the good bacteria for your intestines. That family of bacteria is lost because that culture of cuisine is lost. If you go back there, the same bacteria will come back again into your life, into your intestines. The same gut microbiome will be reestablished. That whole ecosystem will be repaired. And that is the only way for you to come back to getting a normal homeostasis. Homeostasis is a word which means equilibrium, equilibrium for your entire body from head to toe. And the genesis of every single disease in your body, in any system, whether it is the heart, the lungs, your digestive system, liver, kidneys, starts when this homeostasis is disturbed. That is why the gut controls your whole body. Okay, so when you concentrate on your gut and when you give the gut your best, your gut is going to respond by giving you its best and thereby bringing back the entire ecosystem into harmony. and you're going to be absolutely healthy. So do look into this and try and come back to a healthy way of living. Thank you so much for a patient listening today.